So, Freeman, tell me a little bit about yourself as a coach.
Thanks for having me today, Sean. And some people call me a mindset coach, some people call me a transformational coach, and some of my clients call me a high performance coach. And I think it's an interesting one because sometimes as coaches, we feel like we have to have this marketing slogan of what we do, right? Which is exactly the opposite of actually what I do because I want to help people to really live a multi-passionate life. And as a coach, right, I help people to become the best version of themselves through their own authentic way because I truly believe the answer is inside us, right? It's not from the external. We're not lacking of any more labels from the outside to put on ourselves, but it's actually to remove those labels that doesn't serve us of who we truly are, right? And for that reason, I actually love sharing with people the fact that they are all capable of becoming the best version of themselves. So many of my clients, they actually become a high performers because they are now living in their purpose. They are living in their true freedom. They are living with fulfillment, aligning with who they want to become, right? And that would be the first way for me to answer this question when it comes to specifically about the coaching modality or the business itself.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting that you have such a different perspective. In the way that I gear everyone up to come onto this show is I have a very cut and dry check boxes of I help blank insert group of people here through blank or achieve blank through whatever goal with whatever modality. And for some people, that is helpful to have this hard contextual box. But for you, you like to push back against that?
Exactly. And I'm not against niching, right? I'm not against finding clarity of who are the people we're exactly serving, especially for coaches who want to really build a successful career and being able to help the people we resonate with, that we genuinely want to help, right? I'm not against that. However, I am against that this fill in the blank kind of template where there's exactly I help X, right? Which kind of feel like only certain people that we can help. And then through X modality, which is how I'm trained or how I'm being certified, right? I also have all this background. I'm a certified life coach with Mind Valley, which is the world's biggest personal growth platform, and I'm also a certified hypnotherapist as well. However, I wouldn't say the modality is what we genuinely create transformation the whole time because that doesn't define us as a coach. What really defines us is actually embodying me as a coach as an identity rather than just having coaching as a career. There's a huge distinction between building a coaching business versus embodying coach as an identity. And I really love the later one because on my own journey, I also actually hit so many roadblocks myself that I feel like, it sounds amazing, right? Especially when we turn on Instagram, when we saw everybody is a life coach now, that you get to travel around the world, jump on your laptop and helping people and getting paid for that. It sounds amazing, right? At first. However, I also, on my own coaching journey, actually hitting this roadblock because I'm not really embodying or integrating this identity as a coach. Because what I mean by that is when we see ourselves as a coach, which for me, coaching defined to help the person to become a better version of themselves, no matter where they are, right? Through their own unique, authentic way. So it's not me telling them what to do, what they should do, right? But actually asking powerful questions and help the person to reflect who they truly are from the inside. And what that means is if you are just jumping on a plane and sitting the person next to you and having a casual conversation, you can be a coach in this sense, whether the person next to you on the flight is paying you or not, right? You can walk into a cafe just having chit chat with people, and the person may be experiencing something that is not having the best day possible. But being a coach, having this identity, wearing this hat all the time means I'm able to genuinely help the person to see things that they have yet to see, right? To unleashing clarity for them, right? To really draw out certain insights that they haven't been able to see, right? And that's why an insight is called an insight. It's like the sight from within, right? And once a person see it, they can't unsee it. And hence, when a person get to unleash their new insights, they would never see the world or in their own life the same again. And it doesn't have to be applied to certain niche or certain modality in order for this to happen. And that's the reason why I love, especially helping people, helping coaches who also feel like you are a multi-passionate, to really give you the permission to be able to play on this path rather than building coaching only as a career, as a business, which you still can. But the first step, the most powerful step, is actually to embody this as an identity first.
Absolutely. And we'll get more into embodying coaching later, but first, I'd like to talk a little bit about your book and just the pivotal concept that you coach a lot around. While you do coach multi-passionate people, for people who don't know, do you just want to expand and lay out that idea and what it is?
Yeah, so for me, right, we first have to ask ourselves the question, what is the purpose of life? And for most people, it's here to earn enough money to get a good job, to get a bigger house, to get a better car, to get a spouse. That's a very linear way of traditional living life, right? For me, as a multi-passionate, living a multi-passionate life, it means to live the full spectrum of human experience, to be able to have the freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, emotional freedom, and time freedom to go explore the world as well, right? So my book is called Travel to Transform because I believe, like you and me, myself, travel is actually the ultimate self-development tool. Travel is so much more than just an escape, but it's actually the best self-development tool for us to learn both about ourselves, to draw deeper self-awareness, to also learn about the world, to draw better cultural awareness and expanding our worldviews as well. So if you have to ask, what is my modality? Maybe travel to transform or transformational travel. It's kind of my modality, quote unquote. However, that is the vehicle itself. And I believe it has a different effect to everyone, right? And the most important thing about understanding that the transformation is naturally not about what we can learn from the outside, because that's only stuck with information, right? But if we really want to recreate a whole different life, to recreate our reality, right? To be living life by design, to unleash all dimension of freedom as a multi-passionate, we want to be able to create this life from the inside out instead, right? So that the path we are creating, the path that we are paving, right, aligns with who we are. So we can live a multi-passionate life where you allow your different identities of who you are, right? May that be other than being a coach. Maybe you are an amazing brother or sister of someone else, right? Maybe you are an online teacher, right? Maybe you already have online courses helping people on different things, may not necessarily immediately in relation to coaching, right? You could have a full-time job as well, right? Or working remotely for something else entirely different. And that's okay, because that really makes us who we are uniquely, right? That our own experience, our own life path, right? Our past experience is actually an inspiration for someone else who is now in a dark corner. And our story merely here to shine light on that dark corner and give other people the permission to live the life that they want, right? To really pursue their passions in different areas of life, right? To really allow people not just to have this linear model of traditional how society or education have led us to be super specialized on one thing and only one thing and can only be good at one thing, right? And that's why I'm super passionate to break this chain from the last generation or from the old paradigm. I'm not saying there's no value, right? I'm saying there's so much more possibility in life that we can go and explore and experience and really live this full spectrum of human experience.
Hear the passion in your voice when you speak about this, Freeman, and I can tell how important it is for you. And for myself and for so many others, when I decided to leave the US to travel, my whole mantra was, who am I without all of this? Leaving behind my career, selling everything that I own. And it was about cultivating the space inside to find a home in and of myself, right? I would really love to hear more about your story. And before you got into coaching, tell me about some of the things that happened in your life that led you to getting into coaching.
Yeah. So there are actually two critical turning points in my life. Um, so a little bit of background, right? I grew up in Hong Kong, born and raised there for the first 19 years of my life. And I was exactly living in that linear model. in a high-paced, 24/7, non-stop competitive environment. And for those of you who may not be in Hong Kong, right, it's a skyscraper city. Something always happening. Everyone is always going somewhere. But sometimes I do question, do we really know where are we going, right? And I was one of those persons as well who was just lost in life without meaning. Everyone told me to keep chasing the next thing, the degree, right? The university degree, and then the next job, the next promotion, and then the house, and then a spouse, and then a better job. I found so meaningless when I was growing up in this financially driven and commercially oriented city, right? And I only have this time where it left me two choices. Either to end my own life because I was so depressed, or I have to try something radically different, right? And as I'm speaking to you, fortunately today, still here, living and breathing, living in my purpose, living with my passion, I choose the later, which radically I actually went solo travel when I was 19 years old, and I went to Romania by myself to go for a volunteering and cultural exchange project. And that really shifted my mindset as my first time to solo travel, and as I teach transformational travel as well. Because when I was in that project in Romania, right, I was living with 40 other international from 16 different countries. And it finally dawned on me that I finally realized, wow, all these people are so different. And I realized I'm not here on this earth to be the same as anyone else. I'm here to actually be my authentic self, to have my own authentic path, to be who I am, to find my own answers. So that was the first life-changing moment when I was 19 years old earlier in my life that led to another over a decade of travel, backpacking, studying abroad, and exploring the world on different continents, right? And eventually actually working for a multinational company to get paid to travel around the world as well, right? Which sounds amazing at first. But the funny thing is, what most people don't know about is when I was traveling, getting paid, I actually wasn't truly happy on the inside. I wasn't truly feeling fulfilled. And that was crazy. I thought I had it at such a young age when I was 20 something to get to be all around the world, and my peers back home can only dream of having this same life. And that was the second critical moment coming into my life around COVID time. So in December 2019, I moved from Singapore to Sydney, which is where I'm based and living in now in Sydney, Australia here. And first, I actually experienced Australian bushfire first, and then going into COVID lockdown right away. So
Right.
finally, I hit my rock bottom because there's no more traveling, there's no more escaping. And at that time, I was also troubling with a lot of health issues as well. I was identified with CFS, chronic fatigue syndromes, which means I'm so tired all the time. I couldn't even drag myself out of bed. And I have severe insomnia, not just insomnia, severe insomnia that I have chronic issue of falling asleep. And even I could fall asleep, I was troubling by nightmares as well. And then a couple of months later, and I still remember it was August in 2020, I lose most of my saving within a week as well because of the stock market and COVID lockdown. Emotionally, I realized I was still attaching to someone I was dating back in Hong Kong, a British lady, but there's no more future. And I realized there was so much more deep stuff and emotional layers inside me that I haven't dealt with myself. That finally I have this time to travel inwards as well, rather than just traveling outwards. And at that time, gratefully, Mind Valley, as I was mentioned earlier, the world's biggest personal growth platform, came into my life. And I met my community, my coaches, my mentors, who hold my hand to went through this deep personal transformation from the inside out as well. And realized all the answers I've been looking for, I've been holding to it inside me. And that's the two critical points coming together become travel to transform for me. As I'm sharing my story, I want you, the listener who is listening to this right now, to realize you have your own authentic path as well. You have your greatness inside you. You have the power all available within you if you allow yourself not just exploring the answer from the outside world, but also exploring the answer within you to travel inwards as well. Because as you combine these two worlds, the outer world and the inner world, the two circles that overlap, I call it travel to transform, literally unleashing your personal transformation through finding that sweet spot. Finding that sweet spot of this two circle overlapping, of understanding better who you are and what is your place, your purpose in this world. And that's why I'm super passionate about this message of travel to transform, because I'm also on a mission now, recognizing after my own personal transformation, after over a decade of traveling, meeting people and learning about myself, now I realize I'm on a mission to awaken more global citizens in this world, to help people to become a globalized, high-performing individual so that we can all live a thriving life by design as a multi-passionate.
Man, Freeman, there's so many points in that I want to touch on, but we've got to rewind to your overlapping circles there of travel to transform. And although you use a different vocabulary and a different language, if I could just take a shot of that, the way that you spoke and the things that you described, that's exactly what this podcast is about. And that's exactly how I ended up here, of like seeing my own unique experience in coaching and combining some of my other passions and just stepping into that inward value and seeing the power in that is why I started this, and speaking to other coaches and how there are just some universal truths out there, right? We all use different modalities, we all speak to different people, and we all use different methods, and that's okay. But we're all trying to guide people to what's inside here and to step into that and to really embody and find empowerment in that. And I used to have a super nailed down tagline of, I help people who struggle with executive function learn to make confident, informed decisions. And I've kind of thrown that out the fucking window, to be honest. And now it's gone. The longer I do this podcast and the more that I coach, when people ask me how I coach or what I coach about, the answer just devolves and gets worse. Now it's how does anybody coach on anything? What does anybody coach about? And it's a super unsatisfying answer when I speak that out. But then I speak about the things that I do and the way that I do them. And it's super hard to boil it down to little check boxes, but the underlying message and the way that we do it always rings true. So I would love to hear, what's your definition of a globalized citizen for people who don't know?
Yeah, beautiful question. And before I answer that, I really want to segue back to what you just said about the overlapping thing, because you are a embodied examples for the listener here to exactly understand. I may be able to find clarity on this fill in the blank question when I first start out coaching. But when you allow yourself to expand that framework, now if you decide to throw that out of the window, amazing, because people buy you, as a coach, people buy you. This is what my mentor, Cham Tan in Authentic Education always says, right? People don't buy your service. People don't buy your product. People buy you, right? People resonate with you, and people who are listening to this podcast, listening to this deep conversation here, is because something inside us already resonate. That, these are the answers. I can see them clearly inside me, and this conversation is guiding them to see what they haven't seen yet before, right? And I'm very grateful to, hear you're creating this space in a very similar way to empower people to find their own answer, right? And to answer your question, how do we define being a globalized mind individual, right? And it's a very tricky question, because even when I first did my TED Talk, right, when I was 22 years old, my first TED Talk when I was in London, when I was still a university student at that time, and I was sharing about the topic of my talk, right, is, are we as globalized as the world? And it's a funny question to ask, because I truly believe that while our world has already globalized, right, technology, borders, even COVID, what's happening at one side of the world eventually spread and affecting the rest. The world is already globalized. But here's the funny thing, because human consciousness hasn't yet, right? And what that means is, if we look at it from a macro perspective, actually there's a wide gap happening and spreading because of how quickly the world has been developing, right? But human consciousness hasn't been catch up yet. Our traditional education, the school system, the political left and right wing, right? The economic system and model, right? Only after COVID, we realized, wait, work from home is a thing. Wait, flexibility working is a thing. Wait, remote working is a thing too. We don't have to be stay in a cubicle inside the office the rest of our day, working 50 hours a week, right? Things are shifting, right? Because we are now catching up how the world has been expanding. So being a global mind individual, I can talk about it for the whole hour because as a whole keynote, is a whole TED talk, is a whole book of itself. However, if one key thing the listener can take out from this conversation, especially in relation to coaching, is to be able to be proactive in expanding your global mindset rather than being reactive to it. Most people, when they are reactive to what's happening to the world, they watch the news, they watch what's happening over the other side, they let the world lead their life, and they are always reacting to the external. And no wonder why we are stuck in life, because this is what I believe, that all we try to do, most of the people living a linear life, climbing the same ladder, is that they try to use a local solution to solve a global problem. And when I say global problem, I'm not just referring to like poverty and injustice or global crisis. I'm saying about your personal challenges that is happening at a global scale, right? And if you put that in mind, no wonder we're stuck in life, because we're not trying to use a global solution to solve a global problem in our own personal life. So by expanding our global mindset, by expanding our mindset or heart set or soul set, if you may, which is the programming, which is the way that how we act, how we feel, how we see the world, how we understand or being able to expand our worldview, in a sense, the operating system, how we are operating in this world. If we can be proactive to it, to constantly upgrade ourselves, to be able to connect with the world better, to connect with more than just me living in my own bubble, that's the fast track to personal transformation. And that's one of the reasons for many of my one-to-one clients as well as high performers. So I'm actually coaching some professional athletes who is breaking the world record. One of my clients, Ali Pepper, she's from the Blue Mountain from Australia here. And she is the first woman who is climbing all the 14 highest mountains in the world. The first Australian woman to do that, and also without additional oxygen. And the reason she wanted to do that is because she wanted to inspire more women around the world that, yes, you may be sexually abused before. Yes, you may have this painful divorce. Yes, you may have menopause issue troubling your health. But if she can do this, unleashing that human potential through her, she is showing people it's possible for them as well. And that's why, in this example, she is also a global citizen herself, a thriving global citizen who is traveling the world, making the impact align with her, while being able to live a life of freedom. And you will have your own definition as well, because I can guarantee you, the listener, as you're listening, when you get to expand your global mindset, when you get to become proactive of upgrading your operating system constantly, you get to unleash fast success in this modern world as well. With fast success being the key word, not just success, fast success, because now you're catching up with how quickly the world has been moving and shifting in terms of paradigm, the system of living and the models of reality. And as you constantly upgrade yourself to be proactive with it, you get to catch up with this gap as well and being on top of the game.
Especially in the coaching space, I think that it's so important to have the continued education as well. Like to step into this space, there's a learning gap that you need to get ahead of, and you need to do your best to continue to educate yourself as you move on so that you can continue to help those that you serve. When you and I spoke before, you told a story about Ali and a pivotal moment that you shared with her. Would you mind bringing that story back for another time?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because for the audience, we have actually recorded this podcast when we are in Da Nang together in Vietnam after the Vietnam
Yeah.
Nomad Fest. But for whatever reason, the audio didn't came through. But I feel like this is actually an even more powerful conversation, continuing what we have discussed in that deep conversation. And to Ali's story, right? Here's a really interesting thing, because a lot of people, when they look at high performance, professional athletes, CEO executives of some of the biggest organizations in the world, we thought they have it all. And that's actually so not true, especially for coaches who are hearing this. No one have figured it all out. Not you, not me, not anyone. And the more we try to think that we have it all, we have figured it out, the more we are actually holding ourselves back. However, one powerful transformation or one powerful reframe, one powerful tool that listeners you can use as well is actually to be able to reframe, understanding there is no challenges in the world, but only lessons. There is no challenges in the world, only lessons. Because as we live a multi-dimensional life here, as we are living a multi-passionate life, there's only lessons for us to learn so that we can become a better version of ourselves. So back to Ellie's story as well, one of my favorite transformational story, or I should say challenge actually, a challenging moment for her to experience. So long story short, we have worked together in terms of deep transformation to heal some of the emotional layers that she has experienced that at first, when she did this 14 Peaks project, she didn't believe she could actually achieve it. She was holding back by her trauma. She was holding back by the financial circumstances, right? Even though, yes, she have been training physically extensively, still, what really holds us back most of the time, not just for professional athletes, for everyone who is listening, is actually our thoughts. It's actually our mind. It's because even when things haven't happened yet, we have this thought saying, it's not possible. It can't be true. There's no way I could do this. And because of that, it couldn't happen. Not because it actually can't happen, but because what's holding us back. So we went through a deep transformation to help Ellie to be able to actually start her first expedition to climb. Can't remember whether it was Mount Everest or whether it was Himalaya, the first one. But actually, yeah, it happened at K2. So K2 is actually the second highest peak in the world and also one of the most dangerous peak to climb in the world. And when she was at the summit at K2, right, she actually was at the base camp and she was experiencing a shit snowstorm, thundering and snow, and it was so dangerous that she has to ask herself a question. Should I keep going or should I turn back? Right? And I know this is on a snow mountain, but it's the same thing we ask ourselves in life in any fog row, right? And it was very funny, me as a coach as well, have to have this experience with her because, for all my private clients, right, they have OSS to me 24/7. I don't reply all the message at the same, right away, obviously, but they have OSS to me. So she has this satellite phone, right? And then she typed into this satellite phone, you can't have emoji, there's no symbol, there's certain character limits in it. But she asked me Freeman, this is what I'm experiencing. I can't march forward. I don't know what I should do. Should I go? Should I move on or not? And for the audience, for the contest, climbing all these mountains is not a cheap hobby. It's just $500,000 to have this helicopter drop you in the base camp and also the rescue team stand by and, you have a full team supporting and the Sherpa as well, right? It's a big project. She didn't want to disappoint the people, right? She didn't want to disappoint her team. If we turn back, what are we going to say to the people? All these things, all these negative thoughts, the story we start narrating in our mind, stop us from taking the next step, right? So I reply her in a very short manner, especially because she is at high altitude, right? Our brain doesn't function in the same way without the oxygen. So with all the deep work we have done together during our transformation time, I asked her a question. What is the lesson you can learn here? Just one simple question. No emoji, no symbols within the character limit of the satellite phone. Because the answer is in her. As her coach, and also for any other coaches listening as well, if you want to be an amazing coach, an incredible coach, you never answer the question for the person. You help the person to draw out the answers from themselves. Because by only that, it's going to be an aligned answer for them. And for Ellie, in her case, she decided to turn back. She decided to go back without finishing this whole climb. At first, she felt like I'm a failure. I spent all this investment, I disappointed my team. But guess what? That was one of the best decisions in her life. Because after a few months later, she realized what she experienced in that base camp is exactly the lesson she had to learn. Because she realized she didn't want to conquer and climb all the mountains, just like most of the other quote-unquote alpha male, out there, right? She didn't want to climb like other males, Netflix documentary, I'm strong, I conquered this mountain. No, she actually wanted to climb it in a feminine way to show people that she's working together with the nature. She honored the mountain. She honored the harmony of what she experienced rather than pushing through, which is a very Western patriarchic way of conquering things and making trophies, right? And because of that, she realized she is here to help and impact more communities, especially women and children as well. And the year after, she actually got the reward from the prime minister, from the poor as well, and then she's working with all the tourism board because now she's able to unleash different messages of why she is climbing the mountain and recognizing the deeper purpose in her through turning back from that climb. And now she's speaking on all these global stages as well, right? Keep on going her expedition, and she's also climbing back in the K2 as well because the mountain is always there, right? But we can always work in a deeper layer of ourselves and face the challenge or face what we want to create again, right? There's no setback in life, only a better setup. A better setup by God or universe or your higher self or karma or whatever belief system you allow. There's no setback, only a better setup from the higher power so that we can become a better version of ourselves through this aligned way.
Such a powerful story, and I think that it really goes to show A, the power of coaching, and B, the impact that you make. That our job isn't to give answers, it's to ask questions, to help get people to some of their own answers. Some of the most impactful moments for me in coaching have been when people came to the exact opposite realization of what I would have told them to do. But for them, it's the right choice because they have a different value system, a different belief set. And it's up to them to decide what is right for them, not what's right for me. It's what's right for them. And feeling empowered and encouraged to go out and to take those steps and to learn the lessons. Also, I think that it speaks on the ability to make impact far above and beyond yourself. Because, like you said, since learning that lesson, she's gone on to speak on many stages and grow her brand. And this is a way that you have helped the world where the impact is secondary. It's not any direct action to what you did, right?
Exactly. And that's such a powerful point, Sean. I'm glad you bring that up as well because we as coaches, right? I think a very often mistake for many new coaches, including my younger self, is that we thought we are here to try to clone ourselves into the client, right? And that's exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. And in this example, yeah, like Ali is one of my amazing, impactful, impact-driven client, right? On such a beautiful mission. Why? Because now she can talk to all these women, right? In particular, middle-aged women who is troubling by menopause issue, right? Who is not believing in themselves, holding back by their mind, right? And for an young Asian guy like me, would never have the same resonance and impact speaking on the same stage to those people. And yet, when we create this ripple effect of impact, when we are helping the person to unleash who they truly meant to be, now we are rippling that effect out, right? And it's funny you say that because like another client, right? His name is Simo, and he is on this tour called the Bloody Good Tour. The Bloody Good Tour. And what he does is, when we first worked together, around 2 years ago, he actually quit his corporate job after 20 years of being comfortable in it. And he stepped onto a very uncomfortable adventure where he is now driving in a caravan all around Australia to across different states to visit every live blood center to donate blood for the Red Cross. And he is starting a movement to encouraging everyone to start donating blood and saving life as well. In a caravan with 3 of his kids, because he is a multi-passionate as well. He wants to be able to live in his passion, be an amazing dad, being able to travel because he hasn't been able to do that or even spend enough time with his kids, right? Being able to make an impact outside the corporate, being a mental health advocate, being a breathwork facilitator, and now he can do workshop and ice bath when he is traveling in a caravan as well, right? Pop up ice bath. And all these things, the reason I'm sharing that is because he is now impacting and inspiring so many other fathers as well, parents, I should say. Because the way that he is being able to consciously make an impact, being able to show other people that you can also travel, it doesn't matter you have 3 young kids, energetic running around, it's not an excuse for you to say you can't travel, to experience life, to experience nature together with your family, right? That is not to say you can only stuck in a job and not taking care of your mental health, right? And now he's embodying his impact as well. And for me, again, as a young Asian guy like myself, who have never driven a caravan yet on my list, on my travel to transform journey myself, he is impacting, speaking to all this audience that I would never be able to speak by myself. And this is why it's such a powerful message for all the coaches who is listening, to be able to surrender, to allowing yourself to be this vessel of service, to be able to allow yourself to merely be a messenger, to be a guide, to be a Sherpa for the person. On this climb, on this mountain, be a guide for them. You're not climbing for them, you're not carrying them. You are simply the guide here to guide them through the different paths that they want to choose, to give them tools otherwise they may not use, to being able to help them see a completely different view on their own journey. And for that, when they climb to the mountaintop, when they share this amazing, magnificent view with you, you will get to witness how they are impacting thousands and millions others as well on being on that spot.
It's all about learning the methods and expanding your reach, right? Sharing it with the people who truly resonate with you, and they can share it with the people that they truly resonate with. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about traveling to transform and the inward travel, especially I think many people start traveling as a way to find themselves and then end up traveling as a way to continue to run from themselves. So can you make a distinction about when and how to start that journey inward?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me explain this using a map metaphor, right? Because most travelers, nowadays we have Google Map, we have GPS, amazing, great, right? But imagine if you don't have all this tool, you don't have a map. If you are just walking through a new city, right, by yourself, without knowing the streets, without knowing the landmarks, without even knowing where I'm going, how possible it is we find exactly the destination we want to go, right? And that's the funny thing, because most people, they're actually walking through life without a map, right? And put this into the travel to transform context, right? In my framework, my model, right, I actually call this the modern map of consciousness. And there are actually 4 stages of travelers, 4 stages. And just like you said, right, when most people first travel out, when first experiencing travel or solo traveling, just like my younger self, I was a tourist, right? We all start from this first stage of being a tourist. Just going outside, a little bit of our uncomfort zone and maybe joining a tour, just experience the world, But the thing is, at this level of consciousness as a traveler, we are actually traveling to escape, right? And from a personal growth perspective, we are actually being reactive, right? And again, this is the necessary path when we are upgrading our operating system in order to reach where we can potentially be, right? So the next stage of growth is that other than being a tourist, now we start to become more proactive of learning about the world. Now we become an explorer, from tourist to become an explorer. Because the explorer start really understanding to learn more about the world and also learning about myself. We start to create this self-awareness, because once we are outside our own day-to-day bubble, we have more space to be able to travel inwards as well. right? To be able to understand the deeper of my own personal values, my preferences from outside our day-to-day routine, right? Now, and from a personal growth perspective for Explorer, right? Now we realize we have the power to create change on our journey as well. We're not just being reactive to it. When there is a will, there is a way, right? Now, moving on to the third stage of traveler. Now we become an adventurer. So from explorer to become an adventurer. And being an adventurer means we now get to craft our own unique journey, our own unique adventures, according to what kind of impact we want to make in the world as well. Because after exploring the world and exploring ourselves, now as we go deeper in terms of traveling inwards, we start recognizing the deeper layer of purpose of ourselves, why we are here on this earth, what we are meant to create by living this life, right? By being a multi-passionate. Why all the passions and hobbies and my life experience connect the dot, right? So being an adventurer means we're now being able to step into more of crafting a different path through our own authenticity, right? And now, if you were to push through, to go to the last layer, I say last layer, the last stage, but to be honest, there's no final stages of travelers because in terms of consciousness development, there's no end to what human mind and human consciousness is capable to reach, right? There's infinite potential of how far we can reach. So the last stage, the fourth stage of traveler is being a global citizen, as we also mentioned earlier, right? A thriving global citizen. And what that means is travel now become a lifestyle, both outward and inwards. Because yes, while there's a beautiful outside world where we can travel and explore, and also being able to try all these amazing world cuisines from different parts of the world and meeting amazing people from different cultural background, different skin color, different hair color, different eye color, there's also equally important another world to travel inwards to the depths of our mind, body, and spirit. And the depths of traveling inwards help us to unleash a deeper sense of self-awareness, to travel to know thyself, literally, so that we are being able to have a deeper sense of self-mastery, living in alignment with our true, deeper purpose, being able to create this global network of friendships and communities, and making aligned impact to all the places and people that we get to touch when we are on a journey. And being a global citizen means it's not really defined, by the way. For the listeners, if you're curious, I call this the 4 stages of travelers, not 4 stages of traveling. The reason why is because it's not defined by how often or how frequent you're traveling. It's defined by your own conscious relationship with traveling, both outward and inward. And again, let's bring 2 circles up in front of us, because on one hand, we have this outer journey, right? And then on the other, there's this inner journey. Again, when they overlap, this is where travel to transform comes in. And being a global citizen means you have find this sweet spot that truly aligns with you for you to create fast success. But there's a summarized model because I can go on I have a full-on 2 hours free masterclass on my website as well for those who will be interested to delve deeper into this framework to understand how you can apply this, and also understanding where you're at right now at the different stages and how you can apply to embody further to making a deeper impact and also traveling in an aligned way for yourself. But for now, going from tourist to global citizen is exactly how we evolve as well for both the travel outwards and inwards path. And again, being a global citizen, it means you're finding this harmony inside you. Being able to balance this polarity, right? Being able to not just going outside of the world and not just escaping, right? But being able to craft a lifestyle, a multi-passionate lifestyle that you are serving the world, both helping you to create fast success in the world, but also at the same time, helping and serving more other people to become a better version of themselves. That being a global coach is something I believe you can't put a price tag on. The inspiration, the empowerment, the transformation you can create, the listeners that you're listening to this. Being a global coach means you're able to create global impact as well. And for me, that's why upgrading our operating system to go from tourist to global citizen is equally important as you are also exploring and moving around the world.
So, Freeman, as somebody who's already a best-selling author and TEDx speaker and Mind Valley coach, and you've got all these boxes checked, as some people will get to in their journey. But what's next for you? What goals are you working towards?
Such a great question, right? And I'm truly grateful with all these accolades and the achievement, that it got to reflect from the external world, coming from the inner work that we have done, right? The personal growth and personal transformation we have created, because I'm fortunate enough to have amazing coaches helping me on the journey as well, right? But for the next stage of growth, we are always working towards a deeper layer. And as one of my mentors, Regan Hillier, also one of our biggest Mind Valley teachers, right? She always says, she used this term. She always asks me, Freeman, what is the vision beyond your vision, right? Because it is very common that most of the time we are only working on our vision, which is great, because I think for a lot of people in the traditional day-to-day or, being held back by the traditional society model, they may not even know what their vision is, what they want to do in life. But for many coaches, right, you have done the deep work. And for those who are listening, I'm sure if you listen to this far, you have achieved incredible things in your life, right? That you are here to help humanity, to help on our collective consciousness, to help the people, your clients, to reach a deeper state of what they can envision for themselves. However, if I were to expand you, if I were to stretch you here, there's even deeper layers to what is beyond your current vision right now. Because your vision beyond your vision is what you can't even see yet, right now, right here. Because we don't have the enough data. We don't have the enough experience to understand it. However, what we will never get lost is to be able to find our inner compass, to walk into the uncertainty. And for me, while I'm very grateful to have achieved all these things, what really helped us and helped all my clients to be able to find all this aligned impact is actually to always follow our inner compass, or the inner GPS, as I would say. Because your intuition, your deeper intuition already knows exactly where you want to head the most that aligns with your path in the most authentic way. And sometimes what really holds us back is not to listen to this voice, right? And to answer the question in a more practical way, this year I'm definitely creating more content on social media. And it's funny, a lot of people, they thought, yeah, Freeman, he has to speak on a lot of amazing stage, he has to speak on global stages and traveling and do this and that. He's good to travel to create content. But I can tell you, it's not. And it's funny because other than having a public speaking coach, right? I have a speaking coach, Navdeep. He's from Gold Coast. He's also an amazing around the world tour speaker as well himself. But what I recognized earlier this year is, even after working with him, it's amazing. I've unleashed this speaker in me. I realized speaking to camera is actually acting skills. It's not
Yep.
public speaking skills, it's acting skills, right? Being able to speak to a cold lens and still being able to connect with the audience behind. And I realized, wait, that was the skills I haven't mastered yet. And that's why I have another, coaches myself. And as mentioned earlier in this in this conversation with Cham Tam from Authentic Education here in Australia, which is one of the biggest coaching institutions as well, that I was on his Confident on Camera program. And I have trained with him to really go deeper into what was actually holding me back from creating that piece of content. Why do I feel I'm not speaking as fluently or confidently when I'm speaking on camera, right? What are the story I've been subconsciously telling myself, right? And after unravel all these layers, right, doing the deep work, now I know this year creating the more empowering, edutaining content, right? Both educational and entertaining, right? Edutaining is what I'm creating so that I can ripple out this effect of travel transform, being able to reach more travelers, being able to reach more coaches, being able to reach more global citizens to help them find the answer from within. Because it's amazing that I recognize, okay, all this year I have been doing all this in-person impact, right? But also led us to having this having this digital, virtual conversation here to empower the listeners here, right? Because Sean, you and I, we got to meet at Vietnam Nomad Fest, right? I also want to speak on the first day, and then we click, we have deeper conversation. We just have wow, like there's so much resonance and overlapping for both our journey. Let's co-create, let's collaborate, right? And bringing that now to the virtual space together as well, right? That's the next vision for me and the vision beyond my vision, because I know I'm on a mission to be able to create this world that we are not defined by our skin color or hair color or eye color. It doesn't matter what our financial circumstances is, not doesn't matter what our educational levels are. One way or another, we are a citizen of the world. And being able to help each other to recognize it so that we can empower each other to create a global life together, a thriving life by design, that's the world I want to create. And that's why expanding this reach, creating momentum for this movement. I'm merely the messenger, I'm merely the guy. But being able to not hold myself back from creating more valuable content, that's what I'm focusing right now, and being able to ripple out effect this movement together. And thank you for having me today on this space as well, Sean, as you are also a transformational traveler yourself. You are also a citizen of the world, embody on your journey, right? You may use a different message or modality the way that you see it, but it's the same essence at the end, and we are helping others to create the same.
Absolutely, Freeman. I appreciate you coming on to speak with me so much. You just have any final notes for anybody who's still in the beginning phases, whether they're about to coach or just starting? Is there anything else you want to say to those people?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What comes up is one of my favorite stories from the Native Americans. Especially, this is one of the stories that really touches my heart when I first start on this journey. Because as we were talking about earlier, sometimes we as mentors or coaches, we try to clone ourselves, try to help, what we call to be a spiritual asshole, right? It's like, meditation changed my life. You should do meditation. Breath work changed my life. You should do breath work. I've traveled a lot. It changed my life. You should travel more, right? Being that spiritual asshole phase. But what really, really touches me is actually this story from the Native American. So here it goes, right? The creator of the world, he wanted to hide the most beautiful human gifts from the human, right? From the human beings. So in order to hide this gift, he called forth a meetings with creatures from all kingdoms, right? So the animals, the creatures all came, and then they are having this huge meeting with the creator. And creator asks, okay, where should I hide this gift? The first one, right, is the eagle. The eagle flew and came and say, creator, give me that gift. I'm gonna hide it at the highest mountain of this world. Humans are never gonna find it there. And creator said, no, humans are explorer. They are gonna climb the highest mountain and find it there. And I'm sure my client Ellie Pepper certainly did, right? She found her gift there as well. So then the second creatures, the salmon came. The salmon came and said, creator, give me that gift. I'm going to hide that gift into the bottom of the ocean. They were never going to find it there. And the creator said, no, for that human are explorer. One day they're still going to find that gift, even is high under the ocean trench. And then the buffalo came. The buffalo came and said, creator, give me that gift. I'm going to hide this gift at the great plain of the earth, at the vast plain of the earth. They're never going to find it there. And the creator said, no, for that human explorer, one day they are still going to rip open the skin of the earth and they're going to find it there. So all the creatures, they're feeling frustrated. What should we do? Where should we hide this gift, right? And until a wise old blind mole walks up. This old blind mole walks up and speaks to the creator. Creator, why don't you hide this gift inside the human themselves? Because that's the last place they're gonna find. And the creator said, it is done. And this is one of my favorite stories, especially for all the new coaches starting out. Remember, this gift, the most beautiful gift, is already inside you. So sometimes as we are trying to help others to find the answer, we so forgot that the answer for ourselves, the gift inside us, is still here, right? It's still here, right in front of us, or inside us. And I would love to leave this story to all the new coaches who is hearing. You have the answer inside you. You might be right now troubling, thinking where to find a client, who are the clients niche that you want to serve the most, how to build a coaching business successfully, how to do your marketing, building the website, having the perfect tagline or copy. Yeah, while that is part of the path, I can assure you, all those answers is also inside you as well.
Incredible, Freeman. Thanks so much for sharing that story with us today. For people who want to connect with you, what's the best place that they can do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Instagram. So the handle is Freeman Fung Official. And leave me a voice note. Leave me and Sean a voice notes, because if you have listened this far, right, to this deep conversation, and I hope it has been an empowering and insightful conversation with you, drop me and Sean a voice note. What is the one biggest takeaway that you have gone out from this conversation? I'm pretty active there, and I love hearing from my listener and my readers as well. So that would be the place to connect. And for those who would love to delve deeper into some of the frameworks and models we have spoke about, especially if you are a traveler yourself as a coach as well, then transformational travel could be the next step for you to find more fast success for you. And I have a lot of free resources on my website as well, traveltotransform.com. And I also have a free 2-hour masterclass for the audience, for the listeners who want to go deeper into some of this framework and actually applying it into yourself. As we spoke earlier, information is actually different from transformation, right? And if you want to turn all this information, the knowledge, into your day-to-day reflecting that you are actually living in this life, that is the path of transformation. And thank you again, Sean. I'm super grateful to have this space and have this amazing conversation virtually as well after our filming in Vietnam together. I believe this is even the next level, a 2.0 empowerment, that being able to help all the coaches who are listening today.
Incredible, Freeman. Thanks so much. I'm glad that we got a second take at this and that everything has gone well. I appreciate your story every time, brother. It was a real honor to have you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.